So I feel like so many people ask me this question. So I'm taking this opportunity to answer this question. And I'm not going to hold you, and I'm not going to hold you in suspense. The question is, what made you decide to move out of the US? And we had already had the seeds and the inklings. How many of us have daydreamed, thought about, wondered if what it would be like to move someplace else, to have a different experience? If you've ever vacationed somewhere, which is very different than what we're doing, but still, if you vacation somewhere, you're like, oh, I wish I could just stay here, and not go back. I don't want to go back to the grind or, the responsibilities or whatever it is that is waiting for you back at home and back outside of vacation mode. And what did it look like for us to build a life where we didn't feel like we even had to really vacation in the traditional sense, or what we thought vacationing was like in the first place? And so, story time. I used to be obsessed. I know I'm not the only one. I used to be obsessed with HGTV. Okay, before I even had a home, child, that I could do some things with, that I could knock a wall down. I was renting, so you got to be careful because all of that is coming off your security deposit when you're done. You can't just be knocking down walls and changing things. And we didn't have a house yet, but I was obsessed. I was like, I can do interior design. I know about color palettes. I can DIY a project because I was all up in that HGTV. Let me know if you've ever been like, I can do some things because HGTV taught me. And then we got a home. And honestly, as obsessed as I was with HGTV, I never really wanted to buy a house unless it was an income property. This was my mindset for several years. I did not want, this is what it felt like to me, right? I did not want to be anchored to a location. And so if we bought a house, I wanted it to be an income property. I didn't want it to be our primary residence. I wanted it to just be a house that was an investment, but it's not where we live. We could rent where we live, and then we would buy as an income property. This was my thought pattern. So, and I was like, if we're gonna live in it, I don't really want to buy it. That was me. I think that was the free spirit in me. And we still, just circumstances led to a point where we bought a house. And I was just already like, I did different things to make it feel homey, to make it feel like us. All the things you do when you move into a new space and you're ready to make it feel cozy, to feel like home. You know what I'm saying? And I was here for it. I was ready for it. And there was a click moment. November last year. No, not last year, because last year was 2025. Child, I'm still getting used to the fact that we're in 2026. So November 2024. And we had been in the house for 3 years at this point. November 2024. I'm just sitting in our bed. The lights are kind of dim. I think the lights were probably off. We had, the windows were open, the blinds were up, and we're kind of in that sunsetty space. So I was just chilling in the bed. And I was going through Instagram, different renovation people that I follow, because I was thinking to myself, wouldn't it be nice? It would be kind of cool if we just did some DIY renovations together, my husband and I. We had done some stuff to the basement. It was fun to do it together. Like, let's do another small space, like our guest bathroom or our mud room slash laundry room. I was just all in it. And I really thought that it was going to excite me. I'm flipping through. I see some gorgeous stuff, something that adds some drama and some personality. And I'm flipping through, and I just didn't feel like that spark. I didn't feel excited. I didn't feel like I wanted to do it. It felt kind of like, why am I doing this? Like the amount of energy and money that I'm gonna need to spend to make these spaces feel good to me, it started to feel like I was compensating for something in that moment. And I was like, this is divine, because in that moment, something in my head said, something came in through me that said, you don't even want to be here. What you really want to do with that time and energy and money is to leave. When you think about the amount, the investment that you're going to make financially and energetically into this physical home to make it everything that it is that you want, you can most likely get that from what you've been daydreaming about for years if you just do it. And when that came to me, when that download came, when that divine download came, I shut off my phone and I went downstairs to our basement because that's where my husband was. He was chilling, watching TV in the basement. And I walked up to him and I said, what if we just left? And he was like, what do you mean? I said, what if we just let go of everything and left the country? And he was like, I bet. Let's do it. And I said, no, I'm being serious. I mean this sincerely. What if we just left the country and let go of what we have here? And he was like, I'm being serious too. Let's do it. Because the reality was that if he was on board, I'm like, okay, I'm starting the research, I'm starting the spreadsheets, I'm starting to reach out to people that I've been following for years that have made this trek with families and with small children, because that would be our situation, right? I'm gonna start doing all the things. Don't you green like this? And mind you, this is November 2024. And he was like, nah, let's do it. We've wanted to do it. We've daydreamed about it. We've thought about it. Let's do it. And that's all I needed, honey. I went and did the research. I went and figured out, made a list of some places where can we go? Where have we been? Where we had good experiences? Where have these families gone? And we started the cycle. At the time, we gave ourselves probably 6 months. We're like, okay, in 6 months, we'll we'll be out of here. Mind you, we had decided we're going to sell the house, that we were going to let go and cut ties of all of our things, our furniture, things that we'd invested in, but weren't as important to us anymore as what it is that we were deciding to do with our family. This was the transition, the lifestyle, the yearning desire in our gut, in our life that we wanted for ourselves. And we were willing to let go of a lot to make that happen sooner rather than later. And it did not take us 6 months, because logistically, all of the things that we had to do. And I made a list of all the things that we had to do. I created a timeline, but creating a timeline and having a plan doesn't mean that everything's going to be executed in your timing. Everything was executed in Allah's timing, and it was the perfect timing for us. But in the midst of it, you're like, man, when is this going to happen? And we still got to go. Let's get the kids' passports. And you've got to renew your passport. Mine was easy because I didn't let it lapse, past the time. I just put mine in the mail and got my passport, but everybody else needed to get their passport. We need to do a lot of research on where it is that we're going to go. What were our priorities? What were we looking for? And what made the most sense? And for us at the time, we had not been to a lot of places. My husband had spent, when he was really a teenager, 17, 18, 19-ish, one of those late teens, spent a year in Japan. I spent, I think, 3 weeks in Spain. I also had been to Canada, like maybe a week or two in Canada. And yeah, we really hadn't been to a lot of places. We've been to some islands, right? St. Thomas, Aruba, like all of that. But we really hadn't traveled like that. People were like, when we picked Panama, people were like, so you've been to Panama? You've gone to visit, that's where. I was like, no, we haven't. And then their eyes would get a little wide. I know what they're thinking, but it's okay. We know what we're doing too. You didn't go on like a scouting trip. In my head, okay, this is me. I always say this because this is an affront to anyone else. And I think sometimes, whether we realize it or not, someone's like, a house wasn't for me because this is what a house means to me. People feel like, oh, but I love being in a house. And I love that for you, right? So this is definitely for us. But people would be very surprised that we didn't go on a scouting trip first. I get it. Go on a scouting trip, see what see if you like it, and then move. Scouting trips are usually, maybe a few weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. Sometimes you might spend a month. I didn't even, we were starting to get our sea legs. We were still figuring that out even in a month. And so to me, I was like, we can save up and spend this money to go on a scouting trip and then come back, or we can just go and that be our scouting trip, right? We're here now. We'll scout and we'll figure it out. We definitely hired help to show us around, locals, so we can see the neighborhoods and things like that. We did our research beforehand, but there's nothing like being boots on the ground. That's why people do scouting trips. And I get that. It wasn't something that we did. But we thought it was going to take 6 months. It actually took us a year. And that year went by very quickly. And it was really a beautiful trajectory because we were selling our house. You can't control when that was going to happen. It was an interesting market at the time we were doing it. And we had people in our neighborhood that were trying to sell and took their house off the market because I guess they weren't getting the offers that they want to get, or what have you, like for varying reasons. You might do that. And we were like, well, ours is going to sell, right? We're selling the things in the house. Like we have no couch, and we have no dining room table because the dining room table belonged to my mother-in-law. And she had moved, she was living with us. She moved into like a 55 and plus community, living her best life. Okay. Socializing, bingo and Bible study, doing her thing. And so it took a while. And one thing that we definitely learned in that process was patience, because we're watching all these videos. Once we decided on panel, we're watching all these videos about this is where we could be. And yet we're still here. And not only are we still here, we're here in a space that feels uncomfortable and inconvenient at times because we had work done on the house before we sold it. And because they were doing the floors and painting the whole house, we were staying in our basement. We spent a couple days at my dad's, house, and we camped out in our in our backyard a little bit. But it showed us how resilient we can be, and it wasn't comfortable, and it wasn't like easy and convenient, but we did it for like over a week. And it told us about ourselves. It revealed something about ourselves and our family, which I thought was beautiful. And so we did that, and we put our house up, and it sold when it was supposed to sell. And we had an offer that we thought was going to go through, and then they baited and switched us, and we was like, no. And so it moved us through to and who when it was supposed to happen for us, and who it was supposed to our house was for, another family with kids, which was great. Instead of an investor or something like that, we were happy with that decision. And it helped us because we're like, great, we can go and handle the rest of logistics. But definitely taught us to be patient, because there were moments where we were like, we just want to be out of here. And there was nothing we can do. The logistics were out of our control. And so we had to be patient. We had to lean on our resilience. We had to be in situations that were not comfortable, because we might have had mattresses. We had our camping mattresses out, towards the end of like selling our house, because we sold our beds and the things, where our clothes would go, like any little bins and things. We still had our closets, so that was cool. But we were also packing and putting things in suitcases and prepping for the move. Like we were like, we are moving, like we are where we want to be, because once we hit a certain mark, there was no going back. And that's how we wanted it. And yeah, I mean, that's really the story of how we made the decision. And the desire we had for it to be 6 months, and it ending up being a year. The discomfort and the inconvenience of getting work done in the house and not being able to control when the house sells. So you don't really, you're in limbo. You're packing to go, but still you have a situation where you're waiting for your house is selling, it will sell, but you have to be ready to go when your house sells. And so that was a inconvenient place to be. It was uncomfortable, it was uncertain, and yet this is exactly the kind of resilience we need to do what it is that we're saying we want to do. And so that was kind of our journey, like leading up to where we are now. That was what we were thinking. That was what's on our minds. That's what we learned about ourselves and revealed about ourselves. And like I told you in the beginning, from HGTV obsessed person, renovations, DIY, interior design extraordinaire. Not really, but from all of that to, what we really want is this. We're playing small with what we want. We're playing small with our desires and making that decision and what that meant for us once that moment happened when we decided in November 2024. And then getting on the flight December 29th, 2025. It's been a journey, and now we're here. Taking the leap, making the decision was not difficult. It was every other decision we had to make to actually get here that brought us closer to here. And people, like, I didn't feel like this is so brave. I didn't feel brave, but a week before we had to go, I was starting to feel a little brave. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I get why they said we were brave. Like, it's starting to feel a little brave. We buying tickets and getting, it's okay, understood. So that's how it felt. But yeah, that's the story. For those who asked, I hope I answered that question. If there's some follow-ups or something that you feel like I missed that you're curious about, you can let me know down in the comments and I will share my answers there. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I appreciate you. Here we talk about all things changes, transition, and how we can still feel motivated, inspired, and empowered to feel good about our relationship with self and our relationship with our partners in the midst of those transitions, challenges, and changes. So if that is your vibe, that's your vibe, please subscribe and go on this journey with me. I've shared quite a few things here on this channel in this like daily posting 100-day challenge that I'm on to, that hopefully we go on this journey together. And I'm excited for that. So if you've been here before, if you haven't been here before, bienvenidos. If you have, bienvenidos otra vez. Gracias for coming, for watching. Welcome, welcome again. Appreciate you taking the precious time that you have to listen to me and have a conversation for a little bit. And I'm going to see you next time. I'm going to see you on the flip side. Oh, I'm Imani Aisha, by the way. I mean, you can tell, but I didn't say that part in case you're new here. But yeah, thank you again for watching. I'm going to see you on the flip side, aka tomorrow. Stay intentional.